This is Cox News with Steve Winters and Jane Hertz.
Hello, I'm Steve Winters.
And I'm Jane Hertz.
Coming up, Playboy magazine upsets the Catholic Church.
And later, a homeless Ohio woman is forced to play Trivial Pursuit.
But first, President Obama got an unexpected surprise this morning when he entered the Oval Office. He found former President George W. Bush sitting at his desk, wearing nothing but his pajamas and, curiously enough, a pirate's eye patch. White House officials reported that Mr. Bush repeatedly referred to them as matey and was attempting to build his mother out of a set of Legos. At a press conference, President Obama stated that Bush had suffered a complete mental collapse when he was informed of the attack on the World Trade Center on September 11th, and that his doctor had been prescribing medication for him ever since. After Obama won the election, Bush became depressed and stopped taking the medication, which resulted in the odd behavior. Family and friends failed to notice the change in Bush, saying he always acted like that when not in the public's eye. Mr. Bush is currently recovering at Bethesda Hospital in Maryland.
No surprise there, Steve. Last year, Playboy magazine started a continuing religious controversy, which seems to be intensifying right before Christmas by putting a semi-naked Virgin Mary on the cover of its Spanish-language edition. The edition is drawing criticism from the Catholic Church and other religious groups in Central and South America, as well as around the world. The woman on the cover has been identified as Maria Hinojosa. She appears on the cover naked, but with a shawl draped over her head, covering her breasts. A stained glass window is seen in the background. When asked for his opinion of the picture, Pope Benedict indicated that it would have been more acceptable if it featured young boys.
Tragedy struck at a shopping mall in Idaho when an employee mistakenly set the thermostat of the mall's industrial-strength air conditioning unit to the cool setting instead of turning up the heat as he was requested to do. Because of extremely cold temperatures outside the mall, this apparently created a flash freeze effect, killing many inside while turning others into human popsicles. A store manager was able to restore heat to the building, but not before nearly 200 customers and employees were frozen to death.
You know, Steve, I was going to go shopping for tampons later, but that story made me change my mind.
Well, thank you for unnecessarily sharing that image of you jamming foreign objects into your nether regions, Jane. I'm sure all our viewers around the world found it enthralling. Speaking of large holes from which nothing can escape, scientists have announced the discovery of a black hole near Earth. They suspect the black hole was pulled into the solar system by the gravitational attraction of Jane's vagina. Since Jane's vagina is so immense and attracts all sorts of riffraff, scientists are saying that we have nothing to worry about from the black hole because Jane's vagina will surely devour it, just as it has devoured so many other things.
Oh, haha, Steve. Do you write your own material?
I just tell it like it is, dear.
Haha. On a more serious note, parts of the country are still gripped in extremely cold weather, and in some cases it can be life-threatening. Our own Jenna James filed this report about a desperate woman who was taken in out of the cold, only to find herself captive in a strange man's home.
Ann Gables, a social worker in Toledo, Ohio, found herself evicted from her apartment last week after being unable to pay the rent for several months. Not able to immediately find another place to stay, she spent the night on the streets, where she met 26-year-old Tim Ford, a game designer for a local software company, who offered to let her stay at his home until she could find another place to stay.
He was sweet at first, and I was really cold. All I could think about was being somewhere warm again.
Out of desperation, instead of remaining outdoors in below freezing temperatures, she took him up on his offer, a decision which she would later come to regret. She claims Ford drugged her. When she regained consciousness, she found herself tied to a chair in front of a game of Trivial Pursuit, which he forced her to play.
He wouldn't let me go. He just sat there asking me questions, and if I didn't know the answer or if I got one wrong, he put peanut butter on my face.
She says when the game was finally over, he released her. She tried to bring legal charges against Mr. Ford, but failed because his actions were considered legal in the state of Ohio and seemed to be normal behavior. In fact, a recent survey indicated that nearly half of the state's residents have, at some point, forced others to play board games with them and smeared food on their bodies when they lost. For Cox News, I'm Jenna James.
Remind me to stay out of Ohio. And we are out of time. Have a good day, everyone.